Alright, so welcome back for part 2 of this painting, which I've started fondly calling Greatly Oblivious, since there's going to be some divers down off in the distance. So let's kind of take a look at some of our reference materials for what we did previously and kind of see what we've got here. So let me hide this. And let's take a look. So this is our reference material that we've got here. And you can kind of see where we're going for getting everything. So we've got to add a little bit more of the build up for the shark. And we're going to add some of this texture down through here, kind of through here as well, and go in and add the teeth. So we're really going to work on finishing him up and getting that done. And then we'll come in and add the diver over here and some of the fish and everything else as well. But I just wanted to kind of show where we're heading next. So we've got that. So let's go ahead and hide this again and bring this guy back. All right, so let me grab a little bit of this bluish color right here. Let's see how that works. Okay, yeah. So that's going to work for some of this kind of lighter color. And I want to bring that down with the left bracket key. And I want to kind of shape this part right through here. So I've got that there. Okay, so we've got that laid on there. You know, one thing I'm looking at with this, I think he's a little too long. I want to change that. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to go to Selection Tool and select him. And then I'm going to come up here to the Transform and I'm going to select on this. This is one of the new things with, with 6. I'm going to make him a little bit beefier. Right through here, kind of bring that kind of around, down, a little bit, a great white kind of feel going on. Warp tool to really kind of push in and refine before I start really adding a lot of these extra details. So you can grab these little, I don't know if you're noticing me do that, but you can grab these and twist it, and it'll turn it. It'll rotate this axis here, this point, and then you can also move them around. I'll push this one down a little bit. Maybe back. Maybe something like that. Yeah, kind of like that a little bit better. So it's just a nice way to quickly refine it. Then I can come in and kind of erase and move stuff around a little bit more, but I think that's going to work for what I need. And then we can kind of maybe bring that around as well. That come down through there. Bring this around. Turn that off for a second. I'm going to switch to my pencil. Draw this around. Just kind of refine that. Not quite what I want. Just to come out a little bit more. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I think that'll work. Switch to 4 and just kind of round that ever so slightly. Like that. Turn back on lock transparency. With the shading it. There we go. Just kind of clean up that edge there a little bit. Actually, I want to cut that in just a little bit more. That may be hard for you guys to see, but it's right there. So I'm just trying to kind of get this profile kind of nailed down here. Something like that. So I know this is going to come along through here. So maybe something like that. And then come around. Something like that. Maybe the eye right here. Maybe some markings here. Speedy doll eyes. Bonus points if you know where that's from. If your city ends can pick that one out. I've got kind of like this little fold here. think where their jaw can kind of open up a little bit more to kind of throw their teeth forward a little bit. And then this kind of comes over as well. Like so. And then this kind of comes around like so. That same kind of repeat.
Looks like Grandpa Shark here. He doesn't have any teeth. Grandpa Shark, tell us about when you were little. What happened in the seas? Well, back in my day, we had plenty of fish going through everything. We could get all sorts of stuff. People would come swimming. We'd go up to Nantucket, get a couple of them. They wouldn't close the beaches then.
Anyway. The baby shark can have Grandpa Shark.
Doot, doot, doot. Grandpa Shark.
And again, get yourself some reference stuff to look at. So that way you've got some ideas. And make sure it's stuff that you can use that's copyright free. Able to be used. Don't violate any copyright laws. Their teeth all kind of curve in. There's always a lot of them. Switch back to the marker. We've got that there. So I like putting on the color and then just kind of selecting it. And then I can add and then mix. And then select. Like so. And then just kind of blend it back. It gives me kind of that nice blending for, the shadow kind of wrapping around the way that it kind of blends for these guys underwater. But you can really push the paint around and get kind of that feel for the way it kind of blends out. this up a little bit and around. Like so. And grab a little bit of this one. Bottom. Like that. Hit it with 4. And just kind of come around. Like so. Feel of a jowl kind of thing. And this is one of those things that takes a little while to build up, so just spend your time doing it. Scars and stuff along through here. These guys are all a little different. They're battle scars, and you want to know how I got these scars? This will just kind of follow down through here. Now, somebody that's really into sharks will count these gills and tell you if you've got the right amount or not. So, if you want to, if you're trying to do this for, somebody that's really into sharks, make sure that you've got the right amount if you're doing a specific shark. Now, if you're not doing a specific shark, and they're like, oh, it doesn't have the right amount of gills, you can tell them, well, in my world, it does. Well, it's not right. Well, this isn't Earth. This is a different planet, different shark. On this planet, this is how many of these sharks have. What do you mean on this planet? Well, this is not Earth. This is Earth 2. Earth 2.0. In other words, it's your world. Do what you want. It's your world. You can have as many happy sharks as you want. And in your world, if sharks are vegetarians and squirrels ride them to work, that's perfectly fine. You tell somebody that they can just get over it. If they don't like how many gills your shark has. But again, if you're doing something that's, you're trying to be realistic, you're trying to go for an actual painting of an actual shark, count the gills. Because it does matter. Apparently, certain sharks have a certain amount of gills. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to that. people will get a little touchy about it. It's kind of like people that are into like military planes and tanks and stuff like that. Boy, if you don't have the insignia in the right place and the right thing and the right stuff, you will never, ever live it down. To paint those, you'll hear about it all the time from people that are like, well, that actually in that year that was on the left-hand side of the upper thing, and they only wrote on this thing, and blah, 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 blah. Like, oof. Friends, is why I don't do that. You got some really light spots here for the kind of cascading across. And you want these kind of really broken up so that it looks like the light's really kind of catching and doing that kind of thing that you see in swimming pools and stuff where the light really kind of breaks across. And then once you got it on there, just press 4. You can go a little bit bigger than this. Oh, not quite that big. And then come back and really kind of soften it. Don't have to soften it all. That'll give it that feeling of the light kind of skimming across. You want to leave some of these brighter spots here and there too. Think about where it would be kind of catching on the side there. So like if it was kind of blending across him or her. Kind of like that. Just kind of connect them. Something like that. And you can come back and just real lightly go over some of these if you want to kind of soften it more. Also come back to your blending tool if you really want to kind of soften these out. Depends on how painterly you want it, if you want to have the paint marks or not. If you want to give it kind of a softer, almost airbrushed kind of look, you can come back over it. But I think there's a balance somewhere between the two. Something like that. Put a little bit of reflective blue here. Kind of tie some of that together. Maybe soften a few of them. just, I'm going to hit Control Enter. I'm going to put her above him. I'm going to see about maybe just kind of adding a little bit of a highlight. Tie some of that together. I may even turn that off and go to overlay. See what that looks like. I'll throw just a little bit of this warm color in here. Reduce that down to maybe about 80 or so. Something like that. I just want to throw just a hint of warmth into it. Yeah. Kind of like that. Yeah, just a few. That a lot less saturated. That's one thing I didn't really do in my other one. I kind of was wanting to do. I think it just adds a little certain something. Kind of makes it pop a little more. I kind of like that. Alright, Control D. Merge that down. Control S. Alright, so I think we've got our shark pretty much done. Let's take a look at our original. Let's look at our other shark. So he's a little bit bigger. So let's maybe bring him down in size. Kind of match more where this fella was. So maybe something like that. He might be a little bit busy up here, so we might want to go ahead and just soften some of these. A few too many transitions of color. So we can just kind of blend some of that a little bit and make it a little bit softer. I tone down some of that chaos. Give kind of that same effect. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Still might come back and add some highlights, but I think that's a little bit better. There we go. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so now we need to think about adding some of our other stuff in here, some of our background stuff. Some of that was really quick and easy. It doesn't have to be anything super elaborate, just to kind of add some extra stuff in the background. Some of it I did really quickly. So what you can do is just add some quick marks. Okay, so for the background, that's really, because he's our main focus here, for the background you can really do it a couple different ways. I'll show you just kind of a quick way to do it, kind of how I built it up to begin with. And let me show you the background again. So let me hide this. And I'm going to make a layer above this one. So when I did this, and I'm just going to go over this to show you because it'll be quicker. I took the free form tool here and I just drew a quick shape like this. Okay. And then I drew another, did the add to, then I drew another one like that. Okay. And another like that. All right. So that's what I did first. And then I took the subtraction and I just went in and took out some kind of rectangular shapes when I was doing this, like this. Okay. And these were just all really just kind of loosey-goosey, if you will, because I knew I wanted to do, just give it a kind of boat-like feel, like something had collapsed underneath it. And you can do it with like this one, for example, to where you can get that if you want that real kind of angular shape. Okay, so that can make your life a little bit easier. So you can just kind of play around, do something like that. Then when you get it there, you just hit enter. Oops, I forgot I had to do subtraction still. But if you want to get that real angular kind of feel to it, like that. But some of these, you know, these wrecks and stuff, especially if they've been down there for a while, they're going to lose those angles because they've rusted. You know, they've got coral growing on them and stuff like that. So that's what I did there. So I just kind of did that. And then I went in and just picked one of the colors. I think I actually just selected from the shark and with kind of like a dark color and went with the fill bucket like that. So then I had that kind of filled in like so. So it's just kind of a quick thing in the background. And then I took the marker tool and put it on 4 and just kind of blended it in like so. Okay. And like I said, I just, the other thing was I just erased some of those. Now you can do it with a marker tool. So like if I put it on 5 and if I just kind of erase out some of this here and there, you can get kind of this really ghost looking kind of thing here. Because the brain will fill in what it wants to see. So like if you give it just kind of a ship kind of a look, like I don't even have to go with what I did on the other one. I can go with something like this because it's going to see kind of a boat shape. Okay. And then I can give it some stuff like this, right? And then maybe, you know, some rails and just some different stuff here and there. Just man-made looking stuff is all you need. Nothing elaborate. And then 4 to just kind of soften some of it. Okay. But don't go crazy with the details, because the more details you put in it, the more people's eyes are going to get drawn to it. And that's the last thing you want. You want this to be really kind of just something off in the distance. And because the more details you put in it, the more it's going to look like it's close. And you can just kind of smudge it. So I'm kind of smudging it in the same direction as these light rays are. So, you know, now it's pushed off in the distance. Okay. Nothing elaborate. It's just kind of something off in the in the background. For the swimmer, or for the diver, same kind of thing. Again, nothing, you know, just the basic shape of a person. Okay, same color, and just kind of putting that shape in there. So you can just do a basic shape. You can use the lasso tool. It's like if you want a little bit more control. So just, put somebody there. Then I'll start just kind of a shape, right? And then you can just take the marker tool and just kind of color them in real quick. Control D. All right. So something like that. Again, if we look at the other one, so let me hide this and this. See, he's back there. Not a lot of detail. It's just a blob. All right. So maybe I want to take this one and let's kind of shrink him down because he is a little too big anyway. Kind of shrink him down more about the size of that guy. Turn him a little bit. Now I'm just doing it real quick here because I can look at my scale there. I kind of did the same thing when I was doing this the first time and just kind of played around with it. The other thing you can do, like if you do this on here, you can also do Control X and Control D and then Control V. So now I've got him on this separate layer and I can play around with the opacity and make him kind of fade into it, which is something I did on the other one. And then I can zoom in and switch to the eraser tool and just kind of fix anything that I don't like as far as the shape of it, stuff like that. I can switch back to the marker, and then I can add in a few fish here and there on this layer so that way they kind of match the same opacity as this guy. I can change my size, maybe add a few down here. And these you just want in random shape. These are just marks. That's all they are. If you look, they're just marks. It's the same thing in the other one that I did. There's always all these fish swimming around. Okay, you can add another layer. Go a little bit darker. So that they'll look a little bit closer. Maybe overlap them a little bit bigger. It's up to you how many you want to add in there. Alright, so now that guy's down there swimming around, greatly oblivious. Okay. Can add a few fish over here. And then we can also, on this same layer, slide this up a little bit. What I did was, as I just kind of added in just some grass looking kind of stuff, kind of here in the foreground to kind of help push that back a little bit, like so. Hit 4 and just kind of soften it a little bit on the bottom. Like that, so it kind of gives a little bit of atmospheric perspective. And then down here above this one, I took a little bit of stuff like maybe this pale khaki, this one, and just kind of put just a hint of a floor, of a sea bottom down there. And then hit 4 and just knocked it back a little bit. Alright. Up here with the shark, up of him, I took and went to my clouds, this cloud brush, and I just took and added some of these kind of strokey lines like this, and then brought it up in size, hit 4, and just kind of went back and forth. And oh, actually it was the fluffy cloud on this one. I'm getting a little bit of lag from my recording software right now. And to me that adds just another layer of kind of interest. Almost like water currents, you know, kind of like you see it just kind of sliding by within there. And then with the shark, below him, oops, I need 2 layers, just one. I took and went along here, airbrush, darker. Okay, that did not change. Then I click the color. And added just a bit of a shadow again, kind of coming around, following a little bit of the same direction of the light. And then go to filter, Gaussian blur. We're going to blur that out. Like that. Apply. We'll hit T. Rotate it just ever so slightly. Up. And then I'm going to go to darken, get way down. It's very subtle, but it's there. All right. Got our fish and grass and boat. A bit softer. Light rays also on top. Fish. Merge those down together. So now we've got all these. There's this kind of redo and previous. So we need to put our bubbles. And we need to add a little bit of a texture. So one of the other things I did was I added a texture here on the side. So let's do that real quick too, and then we'll add the bubbles. So the way I did that was I went back to the waves, lock ratio, come into here, this level, and we can use the airbrush. Just going to ever so slightly bring in some kind of waves feel, and then press 4 and just kind of soften it. Here, let me switch to this one. So the reason I'm doing this is it gives it more of that organic kind of a feel. Okay. And then I can come back, kind of erase it for some of them. But to me, it kind of helps give that feeling of like, well, I'll show you here in a second. Let me finish doing that. It's kind of hard to see it through here. I can see it on my other monitor, but you guys can't see it. Finish darkening this in a little bit. So it kind of helps bring some of that wave texture in here and gives that water flow kind of a feel to it. To me, it does. And I like that. Push some of this back a little bit. So it just adds a little bit, I don't know, something dynamic to it. I just like it. All right, and then I think put one more layer here, at the very top. And I'm going to come in with this, and I'm going to add just a few more seaweed looking things down through here. Again, totally up to you how many of these or any of these, if you want to add any or not. But I just kind of I like having it. To me, it just kind of adds something to it. That might be too many. think it's kind of battling with this over here. I want to bring that layer got a little too soft. So I want to kind of merge these. So I'm seeing a few artifacts here and there, and that's what I'm looking at right now as I'm trying to soften out some stuff I see here from just kind of adjusting some stuff. That's little things that you just see every now and then that you just want to fix. It happens. And on this one too, I think I'm going to got a little bit too much shadow here. That's kind of distracting. So let's get rid of that. And just kind of carve some of this back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually soften this because it's kind of competing everything. So we'll just kind of carve that back a little bit, kind of bring that back a little bit. And just kind of refine this. You know, and that's just the nice thing about doing this, is that you can play around with the shapes and with the stuff as much as you want to. So that you really get the feel for it that you like. So I think that's a better shape to the diver. It's closer to what the other one was. And that's going to give us a better off in the distance kind of a look. Now I'm going to come back with the blending tool and just kind of soften some of these edges a little bit so they just get kind of a blurry kind of a feel. And that'll just push it back a little bit. Something like, okay, I think that'll work. Don't want to have really crisp edges. Like that. Pull this back. And for here, I'll blend this, go in the same direction. And everything else was. And just do it a couple times to kind of get the look. There we go. I think that's better. It's not quite competing as much. On this one we can bring in a little bit more of the kind of the feel of the water. Like so. Up here. Like that. Come back in with the not that one. Fluffy cloud. And then for this one, this is where we maybe want to add maybe some of that seaweed. You know, and it can just be, I mean, there can be all sorts of different types of seagrass, and the key is just kind of add it all kind of flowing. Just kind of this flowing process. Again, however much you want. Different sizes. So something like that. It's a little blurry, a little not. darker ones so that it's kind of breaking it up. Totally up to you how much you want to add in there. But now we need to do the bubbles. Bubbles, bubbles, bubbles. So let's do that. So there's a couple ways you can do that. One of the ways that I did it was I came over here and I came down to the different brushes that we have here, like granulation. Okay. And turned the water all the way down and went to titanium white. You can just click. Okay. Excuse me. And so if I want to make some bubbles, I just kind of click around. And I can add some back here for this guy. Obviously, I don't want to add too many like that, too big clumps, because that'll kind of draw too much attention. And push D so that way you don't get any sort of diffusion. Okay. And then you can push 5 to kind of get rid of some of them. Right? Just like that. And then if you want to actually paint some of them in, you can come in with the pen tool and say, for example, maybe the dip pen way down. Let me zoom in on this. And you can make little half circles. Just kind of find some of these that you want to add some highlights to as well. Like so. I'm going to add just a touch. You actually won't have a highlight on any of these down here. Some of these bubbles you will because they'll grab it, but like a fish or something won't have highlights. And then grab dark and make a circle going back around the other direction. It's a little too dark. Let me grab the other blue. So just by doing that little thin kind of going around of the dark and the light, you can get some really convincing bubbles rather quickly. Now who knows why these bubbles are here? Maybe there's somebody hiding down there. They're like, ah, shark. Now we've got a couple of bubbles here and there. Now I'm going to come back in here and I'm going to add, you can just easily do it on this layer as any other. I'm going to add in some little bit for those teeth. Kind of fill them in a little bit. I know I said you won't get like the white, shiny, wet fish kind of syndrome. But I want kind of the water. You can still get the highlight from the water, the light hitting above, but you're not going to get like the reflective fish highlight. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So really what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of putting some of the finishing touches more than anything else. one little last bit of something, you know, pop, kind of make it sing. All right. I think that's about got it, everybody. So hopefully this is something that was helpful. Hopefully this showed you how to do the shark. And now you got a good idea on what to do and how to give it a try. And I hope there's a lot of things that you can try in this that you'll do and play around with. I think it's a fun one. Something definitely a little different to play around with, that's for sure. You know, it's one that you can sit here and piddle and mess around with and play around with for a good while if you wanted to. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with these underwater scenes. But I had fun with it, and I thought you guys might too. So if you have questions, as always, let me know. But I think it's, like I said, I think it's been a fun one to play around with. And I appreciate all of you. I really do. Please share everything with everybody. Trying to make this grow and wanting to help more people. So would love any feedback or ability to help others. So take care. Let me know if you have questions. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next one.